For the third reflective log, the number of questions has been reduced again, this time to 3. Now this means that you should aim to spend about 40 minutes on each question. These questions will be assessed against 4 criteria: presentation, knowledge of emotional intelligence, exploration of how you might use emotional intelligence to support your employability, and demonstration of personal development planning. Again, for each of these questions there are 3 possible scores, 0, 1 or 2, and you can see the details of how this scoring is done in the rubric that shows up when you click on the assignment. 0 is what you get if you don't actually answer one of the questions clearly. 1 is the score you get if you answer the question appropriately. 2 is the score you get if you answer the question appropriately but go a little bit further and add more information and more details and more content than is actually explicitly demanded. As with the second reflective log, there is a template document you can use. If you want to go over some instructions for using this template, then it might be worth revisiting the video guide for the second reflective log. The questions for this log are broader and less specific, giving more room for you to interpret them in different ways. This means that there's no specific answer that you are expected to give. The first question invites you to describe the benefits of emotional intelligence in the workplace. As you may have already discovered, there are countless definitions of what constitutes emotional intelligence, and this question is not inviting a categorical list of all of them. Focus instead on those that make the most sense to you. How would they be useful to a business or to an employer? If you were an employer, why would you want to employ somebody with emotional intelligence? Is it because they would be able to collaborate more effectively or work in a team better? Is it because they would be better able to manage themselves? Or because they would be more motivated and be able to motivate others? That they would be able to deal better with working under pressure? Or that they would work better in an organisation that wasn't dependent on hierarchies? The second question invites you to think more specifically about how you might sell yourself to potential employers as an emotionally intelligent candidate. What are the characteristics that you could talk about, and how would you talk about them? Would you talk about being cool under pressure? Would you talk about your ability to manage conflict or to motivate others? Would you talk about your ability to empathise with others and anticipate problems? Would you talk about the ability to hear different points of view and make a balanced judgment about them? What would you say? And what evidence would you give to demonstrate it? The final question is about planning. The hope is that by this stage you will have a better idea of those aspects of emotional intelligence that you think you need. It may be that as you're answering question 2, you're able to think of some of the things you would like to be able to talk about, but realise that you don't really have the experience yet to actually demonstrate it. So in this final question, you need to think about what you would like to develop in terms of your emotional intelligence skills, and how would you develop them. Of course, one very good way of developing your emotional skills is something that you're doing right now, and that's reflective practice. Getting into the habit of reflecting on situations gives you the platform to improve the way you handle them. This means thinking about how people respond or react to you, or how you handled a stressful situation. How do you deal with it? And what could you have done differently? Because this question is interested in practical ideas and not just hopes, it would be a good idea to think about how you can develop this reflective habit. Say, for example, keeping a journal, keeping a note of how you practice being more patient, or listening and watching to discover how people feel before you respond or react to them.